Hey guys, it's Miss Chavez, and I'm coming at you with the Wordly Wise Lesson 3 word list. And today, again, we're going to focus on using context clues in a sentence and in images. And I really want you guys to think, what words in these sentences, these example sentences, can I use to predict what the meaning of this unknown word is going to be? And just like last time, we'll have Ed puzzle questions pop up for you to write your predictions for the words. All right, let's get started. So our first word is going to be abundant, which is a perfect word for this time of year as we are going into harvest season. And we're hoping that our farmers have an abundant harvest. So your example sentence is, if good weather continues, farmers can expect an abundant harvest. So let's dissect this sentence. If good weather continues, farmers can expect an abundant harvest. So we have the word farmers and we have the word harvest. So we know from background knowledge, especially living in central Illinois, that around here at least it's corn and soybeans, and the farmers are harvesting those crops to sell and make money and make their living. So abundant, they want what? They want a big harvest, right? They want a lot of produce to be reaped. So we can probably predict that abundant is going to have something to do with having a lot of something or a large amount. Abundant can also have two forms. It can be abundant as an adjective, or we can add/change that suffix on the end of the word from ant to ance and make it a noun as abundance. Go ahead and let me know what you think your prediction for abundant is. So here we have a picture of the word abundance. And yes, I realize I skipped the definition, but I will go back to it after we talk about this picture. So this image is of a cornucopia, which is pretty popular around this time of year, around fall. People usually use it for fall decorations, and it usually is overflowing with produce. So in this picture, you can see that we've got some gourds. Gourds are like pumpkins and squashes. We've got fruits like apples and grapes. We've got some fall leaves, and there's a very large amount of it. This cornucopia is full to the brim with food. Again, reinforcing that abundant probably means a large amount. So let's see if it'll let me go back to the definition slide. There it is. I just had to click one more. Sometimes that happens. All right, so the first definition that we have for abundant as an adjective means more than enough, plentiful. Just like that cornucopia had more than enough food for a few people, right? It was really plentiful. And then our definition for abundance as a noun is a great amount. So if we say there was an abundance of pumpkins at this year's harvest, there was a great amount of pumpkins that they were able to reap. Okay, our next word is arid. And arid is an adjective. And our example sentence is, much of North Africa is arid land. Now, from your geography classes, your history classes, if you remember anytime you've talked about North Africa, where is that located on the map? Think about that. It's pretty much near the equator, right? In between that tropical line and that equator line on some of those maps. And we know from past experience that that climate, and from our science classes, that that climate is usually pretty dry. So if we're thinking about where North Africa is located, we can make an educated guess or infer that arid might mean dry or hot or humid. Go ahead and write your predictions for what you think arid is. All right, and we've got a map here, just like I was talking about earlier. You can see here that tropic line, which is just above the equator. And remember, the equator is the middle of our globe, because our globe, our world, our Earth, our planet is a sphere, and then the equator runs right through the middle, horizontally. So just above the middle, we have the tropic line. And it looks like North Africa, the Middle East, parts of Asia, parts of the United States. All of those that are yellow are areas that have deserts, areas that are really dry, don't get a lot of moisture, don't get a lot of rain. So reinforcing that prediction that arid means dry. And of course, it does. So our definition for the adjective of arid is having little or no rainfall, very dry. Our next word is distinct, and it is an adjective. So our sentence is apples come in over 2,000 distinct varieties. I did not know that apples came in that many varieties before doing this lesson. I thought that was pretty interesting. Because usually most people think of what when they think of apples? They think of Granny Smith, they think of the red ones, and I think Golden Crisps is the name of the yellow ones. And those are 3 different ones. Those are 3 distinct varieties of apples. So go ahead and let me know what your prediction for the word distinct is. And we have 2 definitions for distinct. The first one means not the same, different, or separate. The second one means unmistakable or definite. Here we have our picture for distinct. And as you can see, that red pencil is separate. It is distinct. Excuse me. It is quite clearly not part of the other pencils. It is a definite different color. It is certain. There's no confusing it with one of the other pencils. You could also say, going back to our previous lesson and our previous words, that the 2 colors are not integrated. They're distinct. They're separate. Our next word is graze, and graze is a verb. Our example sentence is, a small herd of cattle grazed in the meadow. Now, again, we live in central Illinois, so if we're going to see livestock, it's probably cattle. And usually if you're driving on the highway, you can see them just kind of slowly moseying on down the field, eating the grass as they go. So based on that prior knowledge, what do you think the word grazed means? We have 2 definitions for the word graze. The first one is to feed on growing grass, and the second is to touch lightly in passing. So say you and your friend are throwing a football or a baseball, and they go to throw it to you to pass it to you, and you go to catch it, but you miss, and it just skims the top of your head. That would mean that it grazed your head. It touched you very lightly in passing. And here's our picture of cows. You can see in the picture our context clues. They're eating the grass. They're not moving very fast, kind of just taking their time, but grazing. Our next word is hectic, and it is an adjective. And your example sentence is, after a hectic week of sightseeing, the tourists were glad to go home. So I don't know if any of you have really been on vacation. I know the Ozarks is a really popular destination for this area. And when you go on vacation, usually you're like, oh, let's go check out this museum, or let's go to this Dolly Parton showing, or let's go to this amusement park. And it's always go, go, go. And it's kind of crazy. And sometimes you come back from your vacation and you're like, man, I need a vacation from my vacation because it was just so busy. That's what they're talking about in the sentence. That's why the tourists were glad to go home. So, based off of that, what do you think the word hectic means? All right, so our definition for hectic is full of feverish activity, haste, or confusion. And feverish activity just means like it's really hasty, you're doing it really fast, you're going. I know my mom used to be in a feverish cleaning mood every Saturday morning, and she'd constantly be cleaning, and she'd just go and go and go, and she wouldn't stop. Feverish activity. And in this picture, we can use our context clues to confirm that too. As you can see, she's kind of in like a time crunch. She's worried about getting everything done on time. Her facial expressions are just stressed. Her eyebrows are facing up, which usually means worry or panic or fear, which can all be emotions that you experience if you're having a hectic day. You know, she's spilling her coffee, she's running out of ideas, she's got a list to do, she's trying to talk to people on the phone and answer emails, and it's all at the same time and it's all kind of crazy. It's very hectic. Our next word is horde. And our example sentence is hordes of swimmers head for the pool every summer, or in the summer, if Miss Chavez can read right. So, what do you think the word horde means based on the context clues in this sentence? Horde is a noun, and it's got one definition, and this version of horde means a large group or crowd, especially one of the move, on the move, it should say. Now, I know a lot of people may hear the word horde and be like, oh, like the people on TV, the people that collect all the stuff. But that's HOARD, whereas this one is HORDE. So, two different words that sound very similar. Our next word is humid, and humid is an adjective. It can also be a noun if we go ahead and add that suffix of ity onto the end of the word to make it humidity. And our example sentence is residents of Hong Kong escape the hot, humid weather by going inside where it is cool and dry. What do you think humid means? So, humid is an adjective having a large amount of water or moisture in the air. Humidity as a noun means the amount of moisture in the air. So, if you watch the weather in the morning and they're like, the humidity index is 89%. It just means that 89% of the air is holding moisture, is holding that water in it. It's making it really humid, where you have large amounts of water in the air. Our next word is incredible, and it's an adjective. Our example sentence is, it seems incredible that humans and stars are made of the same stuff. Who knew, right? Humans and stars. Isn't that crazy? I know most people think of stars and they're like, oh, they're way off, they're hot balls of gas, etc. But humans and stars are made of the same things. That to me is incredible. What do you think the word incredible means in this sentence? So incredible is an adjective, once again, and it means hard or impossible to believe. So just like our example sentence of humans and stars being made of the same thing, like that is unbelievable. Who would have thought that, right? But it's true. So when asking yourself, is this incredible? Should I use the word incredible? Ask yourself, can I believe it? If it's something that someone told you and you'd be hard pressed to believe it, that's probably pretty incredible. All right, our next word is inhabit. And again, we can add a suffix on there of ant and we can make it a noun. All right, our example sentence is Millions of bison once inhabited the Great Plains of America. What do you think inhabited means? So inhabit as a verb means to live in or on, whereas inhabitant, the noun, means a person or animal that lives in a certain place. So you, as a student, inhabit your house. An inhabitant of your house could be your mom or your dad or your sibling or your pet. Our next word is peninsula, and peninsula is a noun. Our example sentence is, bays along the Baja Peninsula provide shelter for several kinds of whales. What could the word peninsula mean? We have a few in America. So a peninsula is a piece of land connected to a larger landmass that juts out and is almost completely surrounded by water. So just like I said, we have quite a few peninsulas that are part of the United States. Alaska, which is right here, has several peninsulas within the state. If we go down to Florida, Florida has a pretty defined peninsula. And then up here we have one, a smaller one, fatter one, kind of chunkier piece of land. And then Canada has quite a few as well. So our next word is rural, and it's an adjective. Your example sentence is, the villagers believe that a shopping mall has no place in a rural area. Why wouldn't a shopping mall have a place in a rural area? Rural areas usually have more mom and pop shops, right? Some smaller businesses. So if they were to introduce a mall, it could take away business from those businesses that rely on customers to survive. So what does that tell you about what rural means? What kind of area is a rural area? So rural is an adjective, and it means of or relating to the country and the people who live there. Our next word is sanctuary, and it's a noun. And our example sentence is, the shelter offers sanctuary for stray animals. I know it's very good to get your pet from an animal sanctuary because it really helps those animals who might otherwise have to be, given to not so good of a home or just end up not getting a home at all. So it's good to get your pets from sanctuaries. What can the word sanctuary mean in this sentence? Sanctuary has two definitions. The first is a place of safety or shelter. So just like an animal sanctuary, it's an animal shelter. It's where the animals go to be safe when they don't have homes. And the second definition is protection offered by such a place. So like if you go to a church, for example, and you claim sanctuary, that means you can stay in the church and be safe from anything, natural disasters or anything really. And our next word is splendor, and it's a noun. If we change the suffix, it makes it an adjective, and it's read as splendid. Our example sentence is, the splendor of the palace at Versailles took our breath away. And Versailles is in France, and it's a huge castle, huge palace, very famous for its beautiful architecture and gardens, and just it's regarded as incredible, an incredible place to visit. So, based on that knowledge, what do you think splendor means in this sentence? Splendor is a noun, and it means magnificence, brilliance of appearance. Splendid as an adjective means very impressive, magnificent. So Versailles, I encourage you to look it up because it is really gorgeous. It's a gorgeous castle. It's very magnificent. Squalor is a noun, and squalid, when you change the suffix, is an adjective. Our example sentence is, when their father climbed into the treehouse, he was shocked at the squalid conditions and told them to clean it up before continuing to play. What do you think squalid means? So squalor is a noun, and it means filth or misery. Squalid is an adjective and means dirty or unfit for living, especially as a result of neglect. Terrain is our next word, and it's a noun. And our example sentence is, the mountainous terrain of western Colorado attracts skiers from all parts of the country. And we can see in this sentence the word mountains or mountainous. Of course, mountain is the root word and OUS would be the suffix. So we know that has something to do with mountains, and that's a land form. And it's in Colorado, so Colorado's got part of the Rocky Mountains that go right through it, thinking about the land. So what can terrain mean in this sentence? So terrain has two definitions. The first one is an area of land or a region, and two, the surface features of a region. So like the mountains. Whereas like, trying to think what's a good example. Yeah, we'll just stick with the one from the first sentence. The Rockies that go through Colorado and all those West Coast states, that is an example of terrain as a surface feature of that region. And here is some examples of terrain maps. So if you look here, you can see mountainous terrain, and you can see what looks to be an urban population, so a city community there. Whereas this terrain over here, very mountainous, very green, and usually if a map is green, it means forest, grass, prairies. It kind of depends on if there's mountains or if there's no mountains. If there's no mountains, usually it's prairie land, some flat lands. Mountains is usually forests. Whereas this one is very arid. It's very dry. It doesn't have a lot of greenery. This would be like Arizona. If you were to visit Arizona and you see those mountains, they're very dry and arid because they're on that tropical lane. Whereas over here, this is more Rockies, but not so far south, northern Rockies. Lots of green trees, more of a rural community, not as rural as like central Illinois where it's just completely spread out. But you can see here the different patches of greens represent farmland on maps. And you can see quite a few farms throughout here. And then of course we have this one down here that does have some mountains. And it doesn't look like we have any population down here. And again, a more arid climate. Not so much green, very mountainous, and no indication of population. So, congrats on using context clues to infer the meaning of unknown words, and I will see you guys in another lesson. All done.